Hey everybody, so I thought I would share a quick idea for meal prep as well as what I do to help myself with meal prep because I know that if I don't meal prep for the week while I'm working, I'm going to make some bad choices. I'm just going to grab whatever is convenient in the refrigerator because I'm under a lot of time constraints. I hurry in the morning, so it's crazy in the morning. So I always make sure to meal prep. That way I make sure that especially because I have enough food. Just to go a little bit off topic, I really think that we overeat on some areas of food, but we undereat on so many that are so important to us. I honestly feel, sorry about that, I honestly feel that we undereat with our vegetables, our fruits, and our protein. And even healthy fats. I think we overeat a lot of carbs. I mean, I think that's a given. But I also think not only do I think we undereat on healthy fats, I think some of us overeat on healthy fats because healthy fats are like nuts and cheese. And I know a lot of us like that, especially in trail mix and such. But if we grab too much, you don't need a whole lot in order to get what your body needs for the day. When we get an overabundance of what our body needs for the day, our body is not going to use it appropriately. And if we don't get enough, our body is going to use, other things in order to make up for that. And it's just, anyways, it's just not a pretty sight. So one thing I'm going to do is, I don't know if any of you have tried this, but it's spaghetti squash. And when I was introduced to this, I thought, ooh, gross. I don't like squash. I'm not a huge fruit eater. I literally like 3, maybe it's 4 fruits. The only fruits I like are apples, and they have to be red delicious, and they have to be red, and they have to be crunchy, and they have to be sweet with no bruises. I'm very picky. I only like green grapes, and they have to be big and crunchy, or I won't eat them. I only like strawberries. They can't have any gross stuff on them. They can't have any black on them. I mean, I'll peel it off and everything, but they can't be squishy or anything. And bananas every once in a while, but something got really gross and I ate a banana, and so I haven't touched them for a really long time. It was something really funny, but I'm just so picky with that kind of stuff that if something goes wrong, it throws me all off balance and I can't do it. So spaghetti squash is actually considered, oh, and I also like watermelon. Watermelon I can eat I can eat a whole thing of watermelon in one sitting, which is not the best for you, but hey, at least I like watermelon, right? But unfortunately, a lot of my fruits are not are not year-round, is what I should say. But spaghetti squash, a lot of people think it's a fruit, and it is actually considered a vegetable, at least with the plan that I am doing. So what I usually do is when I figure out what I want to meal plan, I have a list of foods that I highlight the stuff that I like. It makes things easier when I meal plan. I also go through my kitchen on a Saturday, and I go through and what have I run out of, what do I need more of, and I'll go buy that stuff. Sorry, I'm a little ADHD, so I'll go on different tangents. Spaghetti squash, right? That's what I was talking about. Spaghetti squash. It is a vegetable. It is something to substitute for pasta or noodles. I still eat pasta, whole wheat pasta. But spaghetti squash is always a good thing to kind of have in there as just kind of a change up with things, and you can make it like a spaghetti. So I also will be using some ground turkey with that as well to make my spaghetti sauce. And then tomato sauce is considered a fruit with my plan, and so I can mix that all up. But I don't use a whole lot of tomato sauce, so it's really not too much of a serving that I use. It's like maybe a tablespoon or something. But anyways, so spaghetti squash. It looks like this, and it's crazy to cut it. Got my knife stuck in it. Be really careful, guys. But when you cut it, you're going to see this. It's just like a pumpkin, right? So what you have to do is you have to scoop out all of the seeds in here and the yuck. Some people will leave it in there and cook it like this, but I like to kind of scoop it out and just get rid of it, because what usually happens when I cook it, after I cook it and I have all this in here, is that it's harder to get out and it messes up the spaghetti part. So when you cook spaghetti squash, it ends up looking like spaghetti. And when it's cooked, you can take your fork and you can peel it, and it looks like just like spaghetti. So it's going to take me a little bit to scrape through this. So I think I'm going to pause the video while I do the other half, but it's slimy like pumpkin, but it doesn't smell like it. So if you remember carving pumpkins, it doesn't smell as bad as that, but it does remind me of that. And yes, there are seeds in it. You can take your seeds and put them in your garden to grow them, to have more. I highly recommend doing growing your own foods in your garden. We did cucumbers this year. They were delicious. I had to buy store-bought cucumbers yesterday, because we don't have any more growing, and it's not the same. It's totally not the same. They're so much smaller, and they don't taste as well. So that's kind of the inside of what you want it to look like. Let me get that little string out of there. So that's the inside. So this is all going to cook up. So, all right. So now I have both insides all scraped out of the seeds and everything. And there's a couple versions that you could do this. You can put them upside down to cook or right side up. Honestly, I've done it both ways. I don't think it really matters. One thing that I do put on the spaghetti squash, though, is a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. My huge preference is coconut oil, but it's a hardened oil. And so when I'm kind of in a hurry or rush or just don't want to melt the oil and everything, I use the olive oil. But I don't just dump it on there, because if you put too much oil, that's too much healthy fat for yourself. So I usually just spread it on with something like this. So I just kind of get it a little bit soaked in there. And then I'll just paint it on the spaghetti squash on the outside, a little bit on the inside. Doesn't take very much at all. A little bit shiny on there. The other thing I do is I put a little bit of pepper on it. I mean, actually, you know, when you make your spaghetti squash and you put all the other stuff on it, you're not really going to be tasting it a whole lot, but it just kind of helps a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's a mindset thing, but I like pepper. So, grab my pepper really quick. And just gonna sprinkle it around. And then you want to have your oven on 400 degrees, and then you want to cook it 40 to 60 minutes. So depending on your oven. Our oven's kind of finicky. It's kind of weird. So the temperature isn't always accurate. So I'm probably going to check it in 50 minutes. And the way that I'm going to check it, ooh, that's going to make me sneeze. The way that I'm going to check it is I'm going to take a fork. And if I can take my fork, grab my fork here. If I can take my fork and peel it back really easily, then I know that the spaghetti squash is done. If I can't and it's still a little bit crunchy, way too crunchy, way too hard, I'm going to leave it in there for another few minutes. I'll probably check it at 55 minutes, and then if it's still not done, I'll check it at 60. So you kind of want to do that with your own oven. You know your oven best. But I will come back and we will check out our spaghetti squash on part 2 of my video and see what it looks like after it's done cooking. Enjoy.